have this startup project, and let's just have a short look what's in it. The main thing is that I made a model that contains the currency. This is the currency that we need, and this is copy from when we have done it. I can see that it's the Danish names on the screen. That might still be a good idea, even if you are international student. If you make the solution for a Danish company, maybe they want special the display name on the screen to be Danish. You can think that. So and the error message, maybe they will also be Danish. So of course you can change them to another country, and if we have multicultural, then we probably should be thinking about having all those data a special place, as a maybe with all the constant, maybe put them in a database so we can easily make new elements, or maybe have some kind of file where we have all the data stored, so we can easily change to a new language. So, but we got here the ISO name for which is also the key. So in this case we won't call it an ID, because the name in the domain model will be ISO. So we got this one, and it should be unique, so it could be used as a key. Then we got the name of the currency or the country. Sometimes it's actually not a country. It's euro is not a country, but what's the name of the currency. And then we got the exchange rate. This is the 3-1, and you can see we got different properties. So we have this one which can actually be used when we are using Razor. We can use that to display the name. So every time we got the field on the screen and we use the property, then we only need to change it once. If we want to change it, then it will be changed all over. So that is one of the idea of the helper classes we will use today. Then we can say if it should be required, and in this case we said it was a regular expression with capital letters only, and there should be 3 letters. The next one, we just say that it should not be empty. So probably could also say something about how many char there should be, and maybe the first one should be capital letter. So we could use this this regular expression for controlling that as well. And the next one, we say it's a range between. It must not be negative. So and maybe this is bad range. Maybe we should say like this one, because we probably only want 2 decimal. So there should be not 0, but there should be something in it. We'll actually not use them today. And then we got a default constructor and one more. And the next one, we will use that for some of the list boxes. Instead of having a toString, we could do that. But we'll see that there are some special features we can use if we've got a property, and there we cannot use the toString function. So instead here we made a property. So we got actually look like a toString message, you can see. So we had a toString, we could actually just call it, but in this case it's a property, and we actually don't want to have any value behind. So if we try to make a set, then we just skip it. But sometimes if we are making serializing and deserializing, then sometimes we need to have a getter set, so we can have them and just do nothing. So this is simple object. The other simple object we will have is not quite as simple, because it's actually a structure. You will see here we have a reference to one currency, and we have another reference to another currency. So we actually have, instead of just putting in the data, we have a level because it's a reference to another object. One thing that we don't care about today is that we might have thread problem. If we are sharing this object and we are trying to use them from different places and make, we use the get methods, for instance, and then, of course, we must protect that we don't get half of the information. So if we have double and we know that we might have two machine instructions to move a double, then we got really big problem if we don't have a lock. But we could still have a problem, of course, if we take one get and then we change some of the other properties, then we will get a mix-up of the properties that there were before and after. So the only solution for that will actually be that we make copy every time we need to use the property. We need a copy of the data instead of just having access to the real object. But we don't care about that, but we should have it in mind if we want to change them. But today we don't change the object, so that's not a problem. Then we got the amount from and the amount to. And of course we could instead just have stored the ISO from and to and maybe the exchange rate. Then we could calculate the amount from, then we could calculate the rest. So this could actually be calculated instead. But simple object in the end. And we also have two constructors, and just to make sure that we can make a default constructor without having problem, we just make two new currency objects, so we don't have a null problem, and we don't have a null problem with the string as well, so there will just be empty string. So we can use the object without having exceptions, null reference exceptions. So this is what we have. Then we got the currency repository, and you can see that this is a normal object. It could have been static if we wanted it to, but if we have the list as static, then of course we could use it and change it and get it everywhere. But in this case, we just create it as a normal object, so we create a new one every time, and we can also have a discussion how to eventually store the data, so we don't need to generate it every time, but we can put that into the rest of the code. So when we create it, we got some test data, and then we got a method. And in this case, normally I say you must not, if you have an object you can change, you must not make a return of the reference to the list, because then you have the list. But today we don't care because it's not supposed to be changed, so we don't need a copy. We don't care about locking. We could actually just have made it also a public variable instead of having a private variable. But now we got a method, so when we change it to the VCF service, then it will probably look a little bit like this. And then we have a search function, and you can say it's really simple, just making a loop, and if we catch it, we return it, so we don't continue the loop, and else we can return null if we don't catch it. So we have the possibility coming with an issue and get the element, and we will need that when we make the calculation. We need to find the object. Especially, you will see when we use the list box, we don't get the object like we do in VPF, where we can actually have the source and the code in memory connected to a list box. We saw last time that when we make a list box, it's actually getting into HTML, and the only thing we can store is the text we want to show, and then actually also the key, a kind of key we connect that we don't see, and in this case it will be the ISO. So when we select one, we can use the ISO and find the object. So it's probably enough. We don't need any more to do some currency converting. So now if we make a small figure on the whiteboard, will not be on the screen, but I think that we will try to do something like this one. We got a list box that we can with the from ISO, and then we got maybe amount where we can type in some data, for instance, on it, and then we got another list box with drop-down list box with the ISO 2, and then another one where we can have the result, and then we will actually try to remember all the information as well. So every time we do a conversion, we also need a bottom. So one kind of bottom bottom, and then we will try to make in the same view a list of all the elements that we actually have done. And we will also try to make a new connection to a new view where we can also see the list, but in this case it might be okay to see it immediately in the same view. So this is what we are trying to do. So what we need, you can see we need a view, and in the view we need two list box stuff, and we need two fields, and to have them look like each other, we will just use a simple text box input, HTML input box. But this one we'll try just to make read-only, so we can not change it, but so it looks like the other one. It has the same feature. So instead of, we could have used a label for this one, but we'll try to use this box and see how it could be done. So the first thing we could do here is now try to make a model, a view model for this view. So we will try to make a view model that actually fit this view. We might use some of the model also in other view, but this is a little special, so we'll try to make this one first, and if we can reuse it, we might be lazy and don't make another one, but else we can make actually a view model every time we need a special view. And of course some of them could be used directly, because the currency and exchange, they could actually have been made a list of exchange, and we could actually make a list of currency. But for this we need a special view. So let's start making a new class. And what should we call it? Exchange view model. I know that normally you don't call it model because you are in the model, but today I think it might be a good idea, then we know what we are talking about. So this is exchange convert maybe model. So we know that it's a special model. And then we'll try to figure out what we need for that one. Just need to remember some of it to write it correctly. So the first one is actually, we need those two fields, one for the amount and one for the amount converted. So let's start with them. So double, public double, and then from with a getter set, and amount 2, This is the first one. So we have the two list box. So we need also a kind of structure for those. And if we have a look at the list box, then actually what we are having in the form and what we are getting back in the model is only a selection. In this case, we use a drop-down list. We don't have multiple selections, so it will actually just be a string. So the first one will be a string, public string, and selected. I think I will use the same name I used when I earlier. ISO from. So this is the first one. And the same for the two. So now we got what we need to get back from the form. One of them is selected ISO from, and the other one is ISO to. So this is the two information we get back. But when we need to build the view, we actually need a little bit more, because we need also the items that we should put in this list box. And last time we actually used a list of selected list items. Today we will use a different type because we don't actually need to make a loop. There is a built-in function that can help us a little bit, so we will use that. Easily building a list into the selected list items. So, but we need those two, and let's put them up in front, and then we could move them a little bit around. That might be, some of you may say that maybe we should have the list box items, and then the selected ISO from, and then the next one for the ISO 2, and maybe move also around with the fields. But it's only, it doesn't matter actually. We could also have them ordered in A, B, C. So what I'll do is actually using an interface this time. I enumerable. So I use an I enumerable. Because then I don't care if it actually was a list or it was something else. So it could in this case also have been a special one selected list, but I will prefer this one. So we will see that system. Actually, maybe I could try and see, get a using this time. Selected list. Yeah, list item. So see if we can get some help. We could. So using this one will be the one. Sometimes I prefer having the full name, but now we record it so you can also see where it's coming from. But and when we got only a small space on the screen, then it might be a little bit better having the using set. So this is curency list from. That would be enough, I think, for a name. And then we need also the other one for the two. Now we are nearly finished. We actually need one more, because if we want to have a list on the screen, in the view with all the exchanges we made. Then we actually also need a list for that one. So let's make the last one public, and we could actually use the enumerable. Then we could use list or what we else wanted to do. So this is exchange. I think I called it, didn't I? So the exchange, yes. So exchange list and get and set. So now we got for the list box the input for the two list box, and also the return value where we got the ISO, and we got two fields, one to type in the amount we want to convert and one for showing the amount that we actually have converted. and then we also have a list where we can store the history. So that should be enough. So the next step now is making a controller. So now we need a controller. So let's try to make a controller. So, and we could use one of the templates where we actually got read and write instructions. That would be a little bit simple if we don't know what to do, but we know that we need one to start it up, to show the empty screen, and then we need one where we actually got information back. So there will be one get and one post. So we can probably just make an empty one. So let's do that. We convert. Is that enough? Yeah, probably. We know it's about currency. So convert controller. So we got still a template. We don't use that in the beginning, but we might use that in the end, because in the end we could take the history and show it in a separate view, and then of course it might be an option that we use this controller for that. But else we make a controller, and its action result. And what should it be named? Now the controller is convert, so might be maybe do convert or something like that. It's an overlap in maybe in the action name and the. You could also call it do exchange. Then we got a different name. So this is the get, and you need to return a view. So this is the first one, and the next one we need is similar, but it should be a post. And in this case we need a model, so we got the model, and this model and just call it model. So now we are nearly set up. So now we need some code to be done here, and we need to make the view. And we could actually start both places. We could start making the view. We need one thing here. We need to pass the model. So this is what we need here. And if we use the same view, and we are intent to do that, then we actually also need to pass a model here. But we don't have a model, so we need to create a model to pass it. So we need a model. This is the post, so we might do this in the second time, because in the first time we need to have some view, because we cannot make a post without having the first view, but we can make the first view without having a post. So it will be maybe a good idea starting up here. So we could start making the view in the first place. So maybe we could do that, and then we can figure out how to fill in information in the model so it actually has something to make the view from. So let's start to make the view. And so we add a view. And we could use an empty, but my experience is that when I use the empty one, I miss something. I miss something JavaScript or something later if we want to make the check of the value and all the requirement we have set up. So in this case, I will choose another one. And if I should choose one that might maybe be the best one, then it could be something like create, because I'm making new data. I'm making new data in the end, try to convert and generate new data. So I can use this one, and then of course I will have generated a lot of code. Some of it I can throw away, and maybe some of it I actually can use. So maybe some of it I can move a little bit around. So let's try to make this one and then use one of the classes. This will be a possibility with the view model, but it's a little bit complicated. It might not figure that out. So if I take that, I will only have some of it valuable. I could also take this one, the exchange, because this is the true field I actually need. So that would also be a possibility. Actually, I'm not sure what's the best one. Just take a look what we need in the end. I don't think it doesn't any change. So maybe we should, if we take this one, we will actually see what's happening when we have a detailed structure. So let's try to use this one.
Which models project?
I took the model, yeah. the view model, yeah.
Not that. The small ones. What did you use?
I didn't change any of them. Yeah. So I use the default layouts, and so I just took the default. So let's see what we got. We got this one, the model, which actually is okay. Maybe this is not the correct model. So did I took the? Actually, I'm not sure I choose the right one, because I said I will choose the model, and it seems like I actually took. I can see that here I took the exchange. So, well, that could be used as well, but let's try to take the other one instead, and just delete this one. So I find the view. So we try one more, and the easy way is going to the controller, and it find the name itself. So add view, and then the create, and then this one, yes, the big one. So now we can see here that we got the right model. So the model is correctly. And we got a form. That's also okay. We need a form. And if we want to check that data is coming from the form, then we got this one anti-forget-it token, which can actually be checked, so we can see that data is not passed from the URL parameter, but they are actually from the form. So that's okay. Then we got some header that could be used. Okay. And then we got this one, the validator. That's okay. That's if we want to sum up when we have different validation, then we can have a summary instead of having them every time with each field. Sometimes it's a good idea. If, for instance, you have made some evaluation where one field should be connected to another field, one field should be less than another field, then it might be maybe better having a summary for that, because it's not only an error message for one field, it's actually for more than one. So should you put it in one field? No, it's better put it in another way. Then we got this label. We can use a label, that will be okay. And we can see that it took this one. This is not usable, but maybe in a minute we can use some of it. And then it took the same for the next one, and this is also a list, so we don't need that one. Then we got the amount. The amount is actually okay, because we need the amount from, and we need the amount to. So those two fields are actually okay. So it's not so bad. The only thing is that for the moment we actually see the two select fields as input fields instead of a list box. So it could actually be used. So let's try to clean a little bit up. So the label, we don't want that one. But maybe let's just keep it for a second, because what is done here, you know that? What is this doing? Yes?
That's lambda.
Once again?
Lambda.
Yes, it's a kind of lambda. Not exactly lambda in this case, but it looks like a little bit. Do you know what it's doing, actually? Yes?
It saves the value from the input box into this property.
No, actually not. It's not.
Well, it takes it from there.
It takes the it goes and finds an attribute. So in this case, it tried to figure out if we have a display on the model. So it goes actually to find the, if we can find it here, this is the model, and in this case we don't have it. So it was this one, so we don't have a display name. So it actually are trying to figure out what do I want to call this one. In this case, I don't have a display attribute on it, so it takes the name from this field, and now it's actually named. So the name of the field, the name of the HTML tag will be selected from selected ISO from. So it's actually just the same as making the name in this case. It's a little bit different when you come to some of them, but in this case it's actually taking the name. So it's a little bit more complex. It goes and finds the the field, and then it tried to figure out if we got, in this case, we got it on the currency, as far as I remember here. So if it was this one, it will actually figure out that we got an attribute. So in this case, it will call len code instead of ISO. We could just put in the name of the field. If we use a simple helper class, not the one with the extension for, but the other one, then we will actually just put in the name of the field. But the good stuff is that now we actually can take the attribute. So if we change the name of the field, it will actually also figure out it's not a constant text, then it will actually also be changed. But if we got a display for it, it will actually remove the information and put in this one for it. So going back here, we got this one was for the label. It's a little bit different here because here's the name we're using. So this will actually be the name. The edit for will the key it will be an input field, you know. So and then in the name field we will actually put in this selected ISO from. So it can help us a little bit making the binding for the key. When we change the value, we will also have a state, so it's making a data binding as well. So if we change the value, we not necessarily, when we have a post, is changing the element before we say that we want to clear the state for this one or totally. So, but it's an easy way to make the binding. So if we change in the model, we change the name for the label of the field, then we will actually also change it everywhere. So so it's a little bit easy to maintain, you can say, but you could actually just use the label instead of, and then just put in the keyword directly, or you could in the edit for directly use the name you want it to be. But the problem could then be when you actually want it back in the post. So you got this one, the controller, and here we actually want it to be binded into the model. Then it's really important that it can do that. So if we change it to another value, change the field name, then it will not match, and then it cannot be binded back. So it's an easy way to help us with that one. So in this case, we can throw this one away. We don't have a validator for a list box, so it will be thrown away. Do we need a label for the drop-down list box? Maybe, maybe not. We can leave it, doesn't matter. So it will be okay. So now we need to change the this one. So let's try to write the right one. We got the one below to look at. So we need the HTML. And then we use the drop down, as far as it's called, drop down. Yes, drop down this box. But really fast. Should come up. Oh yeah. I thought it had changed it for me. So this should be HTML drop. Let's try again. HTML dot. then it helps drop down list box. List, it's only called list, and then we use this one. Just have a look to be sure. This should be the correct one. Yes, this one, the 4, the one where we actually can put in the binding for the selected value. So then we need a lot of parameters. The first one will be like this one, because we need the name of the field that we actually are getting back. So we can just copy it, maybe. So this is the first one. This will be the first parameters. Then we got another parameters, because this one is actually what we are getting return. The return value is binding. So the name of the list box will be selected ISO from, and the name of the list box will also, when it create all those list elements, then when we select one, then the parameter we are getting back, the key value pair we are getting back when we make a post, will be the name of this one. So it actually just the name. So the next one you can see is actually the model we need to fill in. So we need a list of elements we can put in, and they should have a special format, because they should be the type selected list items. So it's important it's selected list items, because they have a special value and a keyword called value and a keyword called text, and the text is one we see, and the value is what we can get back when we select it. And we got this one, so it will be my model. And then, if I'm lucky, I can get it actually work. Should come. Well, okay. Control space, you know that. If we don't got the IntelliJ turned on, then control space will turn it on. Seems like it didn't do automatically. So what should I put into it? It must be the currency list from. So this is where I pushed all the element for the list box. Then I need a little bit more. Let's see what we can do here. Probably you can steal the one from below, because it have a nice look. So the scaling of the list box will be okay, that it looks like the other elements. So I can use the next one from here. So some XML attributes. That might be, just see if I have, this one should be included. So this is giving it a class attribute, and the class attribute is used to make styling. So we can make styling everywhere. So we got a special element called a form control. So it seems like it will be okay, because it has a special size and a special way of looking out. So it will look like the rest of them. So then I can delete this one. So let's try to have a look at the complete one. So drop down list 4, and then we got the element where we want the selected value to be put in. So it will be binded to the same name, and then it will be, this will be the name for the list box as well, and then the selected items we want to put in the list box, and then eventually some extra elements that give us a special look. And I think this will work because it looks just the same size as the input boxes, so it will probably be well looking. If we take a short look at those, you will actually figure out that it's some of them are defined probably in Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a huge library that can make it easy to have a look that's different. If your size of the screen is changing, then it will make another breakdown easily. And there's a huge amount of controls you can use for that, so it can help you with styling without you actually doing anything. You can make responsive designing. So, but it's a huge amount of codes you need to do if you want to use it, the full of it, and this will not be the semester for that. That would be next semester. So now we got the list box. So probably instead of writing the same again, we could steal this one and replace it here. And then it's 2. And it's 2. So this is the first step. We'll wait with the last step, the element that we put below with all the history. We'll take that in the second place. Then maybe we should change a little bit, because at the moment the submit button is called create. Maybe we should call it convert, just to have a nicer name of it. So that would be okay. So now we actually have made the view, but we cannot see it, because if we try to run it, it will break down, because we need some elements to put in. We need a list. Of course, we could make empty list, but we will make a list and build the model. So that will be the next step. Maybe it's time for a short break, so we'll cut the video.